Hey guys, so this is week 10. I actually just made this video like 10 minutes ago, but it got erased but y'all should be happy because it was like 30 minutes. So I'm going to try to make this one a little bit faster. So this weekend, as y'all know, I went to Buenos Aires and it was really fun. I'll start off with some differences between there and Chile and yeah, it's mostly between there and Chile. And back home as well. So first of all, the airport. So as back home, as you know, like they're pretty strict with everything. So like you have to take your shoes off, you have to take your laptop out of your backpack and put it in a separate bin. They're really strict on liquids, and over here they're not as strict on anything. So actually, we didn't have to do any of that. And like you can take if you have a water bottle from outside, you can take it with you inside. Like it's not that big of a deal, which is probably not a good thing, but also not as hectic and like worrying about, oh, well, do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? So that has like pros and cons. Also, a thing that kind of sucks is, but it's not everywhere. I don't think this was just in Mendoza. So we had a layover in Mendoza before we got there, and they didn't have so usually when you have a layover, you like stay in the airport and you can just walk to your next gate. But here they didn't. So we had to go back through security and that whole process just to get back into the airport. And it's kind of a hassle. I didn't like it because when we landed back in Santiago, I saw that they had like a little area where you can go. It's like connecting flights, so you didn't have to check back into security. So that kind of sucked. Um, and then also Argentina had different outlets, so it wasn't the same as Chile. So Chile has like the three prongs, and then Argentina's was kind of slanted, and then like something on down. I don't know. It was different. I really need to get like a universal plug thingamabobber. But actually, the U.S. plugged worked there, so it kind of worked out. And then friends had the like universal outlets. And so back home, you know how like if you're at a stoplight, we only have like it goes from green and then yellow, like you slow down, and then red stop, and then from red it goes to green. So over there it was actually different. So they had well, of course, green to yellow to red. But then when it was going to turn green, it actually went to yellow. So, like, get ready. And then it went to green. But I really didn't get the point because every time, like, it would turn yellow, like, the cars would just go, like, so I didn't really see the point, but that was a difference. And their driving act is actually way better than Chile. Like, Chile, like, they don't care. There's, like, always all this honking and they like drive pissed off, I feel like, all the time, and it's just not good. And over there it's like way better. And also I've never seen someone get pulled over for driving, so that's probably not a good thing. So and then um another thing is that this is for here as well, so they never split tickets. So back home, they always usually like if you have four people or six, like even a decent amount of party, like they still split tickets. It's I've only encountered it like a couple times when you have like a huge party and they're like, no, I'm not gonna separate everybody. It's happened a couple times, but not really. But here, like even if you only have three people or four people or five people, like they will not split the ticket. I don't know why that is, but they just won't do it. So you usually have to like one person pay it all and then you pay that person back, or you're spending like 30 minutes trying to figure out like the ticket because we usually just have like big bills and then you don't have change and it's such a hassle. So I wish they split tickets. And so also in Argentina they have a different tea. So here I don't think we have like a specific tea or anything. They just call it once and they drink whatever tea they'd like. But over there they have a tea called I think it's pronounced maite or mate, maybe it's that one. And so it's not in a bag. I really don't know how to describe it, but it's like the tea herbs or whatever, and you just pour it in the cup, and they have or sell these special cups. They're like this, and then they have like this straw. Um, it's like a stir straw kind of thing. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but I don't get the point of it because you're not supposed to actually stir it. Like you're just supposed to let it sit. and it's supposed to be like really strong, and so I'm not too sure if I'd like it. We were gonna go to this the tea place restaurant, but it was closed, so we didn't get to. But they also had like um, these little stations where you can insert pesos and get hot water. Like that's how common it is and how much they drink it. So I thought that was pretty cool. Let's see. And oh, another difference is that okay, so here I mentioned before that they don't pronounce their S's, so they don't say gracias, they say gracia. And so over there they don't pronounce their Y's, but it's not a Y, it's a double L. So like for example, calle, they would pronounce calle. Or a really big one that I noticed, we're at McDonald's ordering ice cream cone, and we're telling him like vanilla, and then he's like vanilla, and we're like sure. But so sometimes when they were like giving us directions to a place or just like talking to us, like I couldn't understand what they were trying to say. So that was a difference. And so start off with the trip. I think that's all the differences. So I'll start off with the trip. So I think I made a post is like we're kind of struggling to get there, but we made it. It actually wasn't like it wasn't that big of a deal. One of the girls left like an important document she needed. Like if she didn't have it, she wouldn't be able to fly. So we had to wait for her to go to the university to get it. And like they thought I was asleep, but I really wasn't. Like I would have been there on time. Um, but we got there, and it's such a process to get there. Like our flight wasn't until like 3 or 4 o'clock, but we left here like at 10 or 11, just because like from here you had to go to the terminal, and then the terminal in Vina, it's like an hour and a half to get to Santiago. And then when you get to Santiago, you have to, when you arrive at that terminal, you have to buy a bus ticket to get like transportation, whatever, from that terminal to the airline, airplane, airlines. Yeah. So it's such a process. And then when I boarded the plane there, it was my first time boarding outside. So usually you're like at the airport and you go through the little hallways and it just connects you to the plane. But this time we got on like this small little bus, and the bus took us to the place, and we got off the bus and it was outside, and you board the plane like just from stairs outside, and I thought that was pretty cool. The plane's like really loud. So it was a good time for my it's a good experience. um, let's see. So yeah, we got there. We had to. So when we got there, we needed transportation from the airport to our Airbnb. So we're like, okay, we'll take a bus. And so we just like found the bus we needed to get on. We hopped on, and like here you always just pay cash. And so we thought it would be the same, but there you actually needed a bus card, and the guy actually let us like stay on. We like offered to pay him cash, but he's like, no, it's fine, but next time y'all are gonna need like the bus card. And then you use the bus card for the subway and the buses. And so because we were gonna take a bus, and then after the bus we are gonna take a subway to get closer to our Airbnb. So we went to go buy in the subway to like buy this card or whatever. So we get down there and we're like, okay, we want to buy this card. And then he tells us like, no, you can't buy a card down here, which actually doesn't make any sense whatsoever. He's like, you have to go outside in this store and buy this card, and only here you can load the money on it. And we're like, okay. So we go outside, and we definitely look lost. Like we're like looking all these ways, and it was weird because like throughout the whole weekend we either experienced like really, 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 really nice people, or like rude people. So one of the first ladies I'll remember is when we get in the store to get the subway card, and it's not the lady that owns the store, but some random lady. So she like hears us trying to speak Spanish, and then she like kind of like jumps in, and she's like, oh, y'all can talk to me in English, and we're like, oh, okay. And then she comes off as like helpful, but then kind of rude at the same time. She's like, yeah, I'm kind of like American, but not really. And then she's kind of like, what are y'all doing here? We're like, oh, we're from Chile, like we're studying over there. And she's like, yeah, we don't allow people from Chile. And we're like, okay. And then she's like basically telling us, she's like, yeah, y'all need to work on y'all Spanish. She's like, y'all should come see me. Like, I tutor people. And we're like, nah, I'm okay. But yeah, that was one of the first rude ladies. And then let me see some other time. I don't know, we like some like a guy on the bus gave us really good directions, but then some people like when you would speak Spanish, like they don't even try to understand your Spanish. They're like, ¿qué no entiendes? And then like I don't know, just like automatically like just rude. But then there's like some really nice people, like some lady from a bookstore, like gave us some really good directions. And then surprisingly, a lot of people speak English there. Like I didn't expect it at all. Like for example, were buying a chip card, and like the whole time we were speaking to him in Spanish, and then we couldn't figure out like how to say something. And he saw like we were struggling, and then all of a sudden he like started speaking English, like perfect English. He's like, sorry, like my English isn't that good. And we're like, no, like it's really good. And then throughout the whole weekend, like at the market, like sometimes I wouldn't even say anything, like I would just be looking, and then he's like, English? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, this is handmade, da, da, da. So but yeah, so I mean it's a very touristy place, so that's probably why a lot of people speak English. And like here, it's very rare that you actually find, in Chile, it's very rare that you find people that speak English. But yeah. And let's see. So the first day, oh yeah, we got there, we dropped off our stuff. And about our Airbnb, it was actually like pretty old. It was kind of cool, but it was kind of old. So I've been in one elevator like this before. It's one of those old elevators where you have to like open up the gates. And so it had one gate and then another gate, and you go in. And it was like a really small elevator, like only two people fit. I mean, more could fit, but the maximum weight or whatever was for two people. And so there was that. And then our keys were like really old. It was like these, I don't know, the old keys you have. And it took us like 10, 15 minutes one day to try to get in our door because it was really hard. But at the end of the weekend, we got it though. And let's see, there was like blinds. You like pull this rope to make the blinds go up and down. Another difference is like we couldn't find where to flush a toilet, and like we're looking for like a couple minutes, and then finally found it. It was like on the wall up top, and it's kind of like that a couple other places. And we also had a bidet, but nobody used it. And I think that was it about Airbnb. Yeah. And so we got there, we dropped off our stuff. Then we went to this place to eat pasta, and it was actually really good. And so with our waiter as well, like we're trying to figure out like what the menu is saying. So every time we go out to eat, like the menu's in Spanish, and somewhere like most of the stuff we get, but some of the stuff like just little ingredients like basil or like just something random, like we just don't know what it is or what the plate is. And so that's what was happening when we were there, and we're like trying to ask him like, well, what's this? And he was kind of trying to explain it at first, but he's like, wait, like in Spanish, wait a minute. And he comes back with the English menu, and we're like, oh, perfect. And so I thought that was kind of cool that they had an English menu. So that was the first day, and then we got ready for the next day. So there was 4 girls, and so the first day we actually split up. The 2 went to a vineyard, and then me and another girl, we went just to wherever we wanted. So we went to go see, well, all of us first went to a botanical garden, but it really wasn't like botanically, that's not even a word, but it wasn't a botanical garden really because it didn't have flowers at all, but it was still nice. And then we went to their pink house, which is basically their White House, but it is painted pink, and it actually looks, I liked it way more better at night. This probably doesn't make sense, but yeah, just they added like more lights and pink and different colors that I thought looked really cool. And when we got there, like they had these cages for like protests, like to hold people back, and then they had like all these other signs. And one of the guys at one of the markets was actually telling us about the protest, So he had photography of all like the protests. He had like these bonfires going off and like kind of like a riot thing. And we were like, when was that? And I'm pretty sure he said like a month ago. So that was very interesting. And he was actually telling us like there one of the girls asked like why is this going on? And so the way I understood it is the government right now, and I'm not too sure if it's the left or right, but right now it's like either too far to the left, and the president before was like way like to the right. So it's like very two like different ideas, and the people protesting now like don't agree with anything that he's doing. So that's like why there are all these protests. And I actually experienced the protests while I was there. It wasn't like rowdy or anything. They're just like walking and they're like guided by police and whatnot. But then also one day when we were coming back home on the bus, like in front of the pink house, like the whole lawn thing was like trash. Like there's just trash everywhere. So I don't know like if it was like a huge riot protest thing going on. But yeah. And so we did that. We walked into this like random church. It was really big. It was like one of the biggest churches I ever been to. Is they had like you walk in, they had like these different rooms, and then the big main part where they had the mass, and it was like really tall. It was really beautiful. And let's see, we also went to Chinatown. It wasn't, I've been to better Chinatowns, but they had some really like nice art there, graffiti art. But it was pretty legit. Like they had legit Chinese food, like animal feet, and I kind of wanted to try one, but I was kind of scared, so but I didn't. And then they just had like basic souvenir shops. And then the second day we just had like a museum day, so we went to Malba, which is the Museo de Arte Latinoamericano de Buenos Aires. That's what it stood for in this pamphlet. It was just like modern art. If you saw the picture of like a disco thing, that's where that was at. It was pretty nice. And then we also went to Vita Museum, which was it was the president's wife, but she was like really well known, like one of the most famous women in Argentina, most important in their history. She like stood for women's rights and like all this stuff, and like people love her. And also at the Recoleta Museum, or not cemetery, like that's where all the tombstones of like famous people are and stuff. But like, and where her tombstone thing was, there was like still all these flowers. Like people were still sending flowers. Like they still love her, like adore her, worship her. So that was kind of cool. And so yeah, the third day we went to the Recoleta cemetery, and it was huge. Like that was probably one of the most things that I liked. Is so interesting. So they have like these not even tombstones, like houses and castles and statues and all kinds of stuff. So like in these, even in some of like the little houses things, like they had stairs to go underneath, and it was like they're just ginormous. And it was, we didn't even walk through the whole thing because it would have took us forever, but we saw a good amount of it, and it was pretty big. And also in front of the Recoleta cemetery, they had like a little market, so we walked around for a little bit and got some souvenirs. And this I'm not gonna show you all the other ones I bought because they're a surprise, but this, because we collect magnets for our house of all like states and places we go, so this is the one I got for my house. And then also collecting these oh man, I forgot the names for these. I can't remember. Y'all know what those are. So I'm collecting these things to put on my backpack. So like when I go backpacking and I need to buy one from Chile, it's gonna pop in my head later. I know it is. It's so easy, such an easy word. So this is what we say sometimes. So we're like, oh, you can't English, or you can't. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what we say. You can't English, because when we're at the cemetery, I was trying to think of the word tombstones, and so I asked a friend, I'm like, wait, what are these things called? And she's like, and then she said tombstone, tombstones, and I'm like, yeah, can't English today, but it happens to me all the time. So after the cemetery, went to La Boca, and that's like the picture of the tango picture I posted. It's like this really colorful city. So another lady at this other market was telling us about that, and she was saying how there's this like really famous guy from that town. It was like a very poor city, and he was like known for his literature, and he like traveled the world, and he was like in Europe, and that's where he got his inspiration from. And then he came back to the town, and he like bought all this paint and donated it to the city. And then that's why it's so colorful, because they just like painted the whole city all these random colors. It was really pretty. Um, and there I had the best choripan I've ever had. It was so good. It was just all these different colors. I'll definitely post a picture. And all the best food I had this weekend was like street food. Like the choripan was from like a guy had this grill outside, and he was just making them there. And then another was like a burrito. Oh, so good. It had like cheese, melted cheese in the inside, and he had like even the avocado like hot sauce. It was so good. Reminded me of back home. And then, okay, so then the next day, the fourth day, we went to the San Telmo market, and this market was huge. So, like, the first market we went to in front of the cemetery was already, like, kind of big, and I kind of got lost. So, then for the next one, and it's not good because, like, I didn't have, I mean, I had a phone, but I don't have data or anything. And so, for the next day, we're like, okay, we need like a meeting spot, and this is what time we're gonna meet if we split up. And so, um, so we designated like 2 hours, like be back here in 2 hours, whatever. So it like split off into two sides. So we went to one side, and I spent like an hour and 30 minutes just on one side. And so that's how big it was. And then we went to the other side, just like real quick, walking through it. And then when we got to a certain point, we're like, okay, it's time to go back. We need to meet them. But at that point, like there was still even more to walk down. So it was huge, like really cool market. Um, Also, this little kid, like half my size, touched my butt at this market. And first I like thought like, okay, like somebody just like tapped me by accident, but no, he definitely touched my butt, because I like look back, and then the little kid is like still walking, but he looks back, and he just gives me like this huge smile, and I'm like, yeah, he definitely did that on purpose. But I also felt like he was like a pickpocketer, because like he had gloves on and he was just by himself, and I was like, I don't know, but I thought it was kind of funny. And after the market, we went to El Tigre, which was like an hour away. We had to take like a train, and it was like a nice city. We really didn't do much. We just kind of walked around and looked at it, and we had media lunas there, and that's something like really famous in Argentina. Like they have a lot of pastries everywhere. They're so good. Like I ate way too much bread that weekend, and they're actually way better warm, and they're basically just croissants, and sometimes they have stuff inside, or they have like the sandwiches. They're really good. And then um, later that day we went to the Women's Bridge, and we just went to go see it. And so by the fourth day, that's like the last day, and this like also happened like in El Tigre. So before we left, we exchanged money, and so we like had a certain amount of money, and by that day we're like running low. And it's not like that we didn't have any more, it's like we couldn't get any. So we tried like 4 different ATMs. Some of them didn't have money in them, and then other ones like it just didn't want to work. And then so everyone, like mostly everybody, was running out of money, and they're like, do y'all want to stay here, like look around? And I was like, no, like we can't buy anything. And then also like we were we were it was the last day. This is by the Women's Bridge, so it's far from our house, and it was already late. Like the subways closed at 11, and they like didn't want to take the bus because it was like they're tired of walking. And one of the girls was like, let's just take a taxi, like I'm so tired. And we're like, you can't, like you don't have any money. So like that whole day I was like singing the Mexican song No Tengo Dinero, but like none of them knew the song. But I'm gonna play it for y'all so y'all know. Wait. So I kept singing that. It was pretty funny. So, okay, a couple more other things real quick. So, they actually had a Burger King delivery, which I think is kind of weird. Like, why would you want Burger King? Like, I just don't like Burger King. But one of the nights we almost ordered it, but I was like, nah, I do not want Burger King. So that was pretty interesting. Also, okay, one night, so we wanted to buy alcohol, and we went to one of these stores, and it was also like 10 o'clock ish. And so we went to one of the stores, they didn't have any. We went to another store, and they didn't have any. But we asked the guy, like, where can we buy some? And so he's explaining in Spanish, and like the way he's describing it was like kind of sketchy. Like he was like, okay, like this is where it's at, but you need to send in one person, and like when you get it, you need to put it in the backpack, and if like that doesn't work out, then you need to like call a number or something like that. And we're like, what? Like what is going on? And we're like, okay, like maybe they can't sell it after a certain hour, like that happens in the US. Like once the time hits, you can't sell it. We thought it was that. So we went to the store, we find it, we're like, okay, we found what we wanted. We're like, okay, we want to buy it. So then the guy's like, no, you can't buy it here. Like we have to give it to you outside. And we're like, okay. And so we just like pay for it. He's like, okay, y'all walk to the corner and then I'll bring it to you. And he has like this duffel bag. Like he puts the alcohol in this duffel bag. And so like we go around the corner. It's not far at all. So we go, and it's funny. He comes out, and then he says it in English. He's like, "Are y'all ready?" And we're like, yeah." And he like pulls it out of this duffel bag and just gives it to us. Like, I literally didn't see the point of like doing all that if I don't know, but it was definitely an experience. And then he gave us like the pamphlet for the number. I guess like do alcohol deliveries. Like I don't even know if this was legal or not, but hey, we didn't get arrested. Um, let's see. I also so here they have piscola, and so that's like a drink that they're known for in Chile, and so they have the same thing over there, but it's called Fernet. And here you drink them with Coke. So here's piscola, and over there it's like Fernet cola, and we tried one, and it was really bitter and gross. I did not like it at all. But also, okay, I want to do this. So I want to take Pisco back home and have like a whole dinner for all my sponsors and people that came to my party. Like I want to have piscola and like a Chilean dinner. So I also want to do that. If it's something that you're interested, let me know so I can start to plan that. And let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. I think I said like Argentina, Buenos Aires, like a little bit more developed, more advanced. And yeah, that was it. It was a good weekend. Um, yeah, that's it. I also bought my ticket to Peru 2 days ago, so that is official. I will be backpacking there for 2.5 weeks. And yeah, I'm super excited. So until next week, guys. Bye.